Hey everybody on YouTube, Karl Alexander here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over my review of Heroes and Generals. Let's get started. Heroes and Generals is a free-to-play multiplayer first-person shooter that was released on September 23, 2016 for Windows PCs. The game was developed by Retromoto, a small company founded by former IO Interactive employees. The game features objective-based gameplay in a World War II setting, where you play as the United States, Russia, or Germany. While the game is free to play, there are plenty of microtransactions available and a subscription service for around $10 a month. So when my friend Mark asked if I was interested in playing Heroes and Generals, I was greeted by screenshots like this on the Steam store page. This is what the guys at Penny Arcade called bullshot. As much as I'm into hardware, I really don't care how a game looks as long as it's fun. But this is straight up deception. The screenshots look modern and have plenty of post-processing effects with dramatic lighting and even some depth of field. But in reality, this is what you get. And it's not exactly that the visuals are bad, they're just muddled. It's a very clumsy assortment of textures and lighting. Trees are blurry and distant objects shimmer all over the place due to its less than stellar use of FXAA. These things wouldn't be a big deal, except for the fact that they directly affect gameplay in a shooter based in large open areas. Picking out your target can be as big of a challenge as shooting them, and that's not to mean that you shouldn't be able to sneak and hide, but discerning a Nazi from a tree is something that shouldn't be an issue, but it is. These issues don't come down to the game's lack of cool technology, it's a lack of cohesion in the presentation. Some objects seem to be rendered in surprising clarity, while others flicker on the horizon. It creates a very hacked together feel that isn't charming, it's just kinda bad. On the more positive side of things, the audio is good. It has a bit of a generic sound to it since we've heard so many of these things in previous World War II games, but at least it does them well. With its visuals making enemy detection difficult, I was impressed by how many times I was made aware of enemy movement by sound alone. It might not be the highest quality, but its positional audio seems to be spot on. The soundtrack only plays in menus and it's pretty generic, so it doesn't really make much of a difference either way. Overall, the presentation is a mixed bag. You've got some good sound design with lackluster visuals. At times, the lighting works out and you get a good set of conditions that makes the game look pretty decent and playable. But other times it's a dark jumbled mess of jaggies until one pops out at you at 100 yards away. Heroes and Generals can't seem to pick what era it was made for, and it hurts the overall experience. Honestly, the gameplay of Heroes and Generals isn't worth explaining in full detail. It's pretty standard when it comes to a Battlefield style FPS. There are different map types that have different objectives. Encounter maps are for noobs getting the basics down. Skirmishes are small maps with objectives that need to be held. Assault maps are just larger version of skirmishes with tanks and planes. And war is, well, I never got that far. But essentially all the maps boil down to either defending territory or taking it. As you play, you level up and gain combat ribbons. The ribbons are all connected to some sort of action like using semi-automatic rifles or killing enemies while defending an objective. If you do these things enough, you level up your ribbon, which can unlock things like new weapons and skills. But if you're too lazy for that, you can just buy the unlocks for exorbitant amounts of money. Just about every aspect of the game can be bought. Seriously, this game is loaded with real-world currency options. Sure, you can use in-game money that you earn, but making 5,000 credits an hour will make buying a gun for 200,000 a 40-hour investment. I've never given into the allure of microtransactions, and I'm not sure if I ever will. I thought about buying gold simply for the review, but examining the prices of things for even a moment makes you realize how incredibly expensive this game would get if you just wanted a few upgrades or character unlocks. Seriously, a single gun can cost up to as much as $10. Do that 6 times, you've just paid for a AAA title. Beyond all that, the actual gameplay is pretty solid. It's definitely a slow burn, and close combat is awkward as hell, but assaulting a position with bullets whizzing by and grenades going off can be a really exciting experience. On the other hand, it can also devolve into running across a map for 4 minutes just to get killed over and over. It's an issue that all large area multiplayer games run into. There's a lot of filler and it's easy to get killed walking through it, especially by cars going 85 miles an hour. If you've played any first-person shooter online, you should get the gist of how this game operates. There isn't anything special feature or control-wise. The shooting mechanics work well, and the servers lagged very little in my experience. I rarely felt cheated by the game. The biggest issue surrounding Heroes and Generals is a lack of weapons and characters for new players. I played as the United States, and using the M1 Garand for hours on end without any potential upgrades is frustrating, and if you want to save for certain guns, you'll have to forego any upgrades unless you're willing to put in some serious time or be willing to just pay straight cash. But maybe I'm being too harsh. This is a free game, so you can really only expect so much. It's comparable to many other free-to-play games I've experienced in the past. It's got a confusing interface that pushes you towards purchasing items and upgrades, but if you see past it, you can usually figure out what's worth it and what's not. However, I still find its lack of selection for new players disappointing. It's a huge discouragement to be killed over and over, not because of your lack of skill, but simply because your opponents have superior weapons. The game is weighted towards people who pay, and that never cultivates good, balanced gameplay. Heroes and Generals captures a feeling of nostalgia for anyone who played Battlefield 1942. Its visuals, sounds, and gameplay are as close as you'll get to the original without tracking down a still running server today. However, its inconsistent interface, annoying microtransactions, clunky gameplay, and odd matchmaking really hurt what could have been a perfect spiritual sequel to an amazing game. People will argue that it's got the right price, but does it? If you just want to jump in and have some fun, this isn't a good match considering the time and energy you have to put in for any sort of return. And even if you manage to collect a small arsenal, you'll still be outgunned and outranked by the whales willing to pay hundreds on virtual war bonds, XP boosts, and powerful weapons. I don't want to just rant about how games were back in my day, but this is not the type of experience that benefits from a free-to-play model. Tons of games are successful using microtransactions for cosmetic items, or even experience and gold boosts, but this game puts too much emphasis on pay-to-win structures. Even with all its issues, I had some fun with Heroes and Generals. It really captures a style of online FPS that's long gone. Many times battles could be long and boring, but every once in a while you'll play a gem that just captures that feeling of being in the middle of an intense battle, with real stakes and real strategy. If you're looking for something in the vein of Battlefield 1942, then try it out. If you don't like it, then you won't be losing much except your time. Just make sure to keep your wallet locked up while playing. It might be worth your time, but it's not worth your money. Okay everybody, that was my video for this week. I hope you liked it. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, I think you know what to do. Leave me a comment in the comments section and hit that subscribe button wherever it is if you want to see more videos like this one in the future. Coming up next week, I'm going to have a video about resolution bottlenecking. I did a little video about it earlier, and I just wanted to follow up on this concept. So I'm going to be doing some testing this week, seeing what it's all about, and I'll report back. So I hope you stick around for that one, and I'll see you then.